Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Glass with Business Growth Strategies International, and we are so psyched that you are joining us today. I have two amazing people that are joining me to do this amazing podcast for all of you entrepreneurs out there. Danny, why don't you start, introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Daniel McCraine with McCraine Associates. And we have Patricia with us today, right? I'll
Yes,
toss it over to you.
right. So I'm Patricia Reszetylo, and I haven't exactly settled on a business name yet.
That's okay, which actually brings us toward what our topic is for today, our MVP. And I'm not talking about your most valuable player. I'm talking about a minimum viable product. You know, so many times in business, so many of us get confused and we start thinking we need everything just to get started. A business name is one of those things that usually is helpful. Um, but to be honest, it really isn't super necessary. Think about it from the perspective of you're going to meet a client. Do you need a company name to meet that client? Probably not. If you're going to IBM as an example, yeah, IBM may not do business with an individual. They may want to do business with a company. But so many small businesses, so many entrepreneurs that are out there, and for all of you that are listening to this program, I'm sure that a lot of you can relate that it's all about the connection with the individual. It's all about relationships. When you go out to networking events, how many of you go to networking events and all they do is they give you your card and say, let's do lunch. Now, I don't know. I haven't been at a networking event in a while. You know, Nobody has, or very few people, I should say, have actually been to a big networking event just because of COVID. But when you look at what you've done in the past, have you guys had that happen too?
I've experienced that. Personally, I'm the kind of person, I do tons of planning. I'm a very creative person. I get into a lot of details, and I have made this mistake before, Jennifer, myself. I have created entire programs. I've created year-long coaching and training programs, down to what's going to happen each lesson, each moment of every lesson, and spent years creating the program only to find out nobody wanted it.
Nobody wanted it. Look at that.
Been there,
Yes.
done that.
When you have programs like that, when people are saying, oh, yeah, this sounds like a great opportunity, but nobody's going in because it's the wrong opportunity, or somebody is going to be, well, yeah, there's so many good things about it, but it's too expensive. It's not the right fit. It's not whatever. You know, um, there's a whole bunch of different levels. When you look at MVP, there's the minimum viable product. And for those of you, by the way, that are listening and don't understand what that means, think about it from this perspective. What is the absolute minimum offering that I have that I can get my product out to market with? In other words, if you're creating a bridge, right? You need the steel to actually make the bridge. You need the suspension cables to make the bridge. You need, all of those pieces to make the bridge. Do you need the lights on top to make it prettier? Or do you only need the warning lights that the aircraft don't hit it, right? That is your minimum viable product. What is the absolute minimum you can have? Then you have your desired feature set, which are things that make it better, like those lights, right? Maybe it makes it better, maybe not. That may be a trivial feature set because it's not going to make a difference one way or the other, right? Nobody's going to buy it this way or that way just because of those pretty lights, right? When we go out and we create a course, we all have an idea. What is it that we want to do? What is it that we're looking at? But what is it that people are going to really want? Do they want module one is going to do this, and that, and I start feeling like that teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, not to date ourselves, but that's what I start feeling like when I'm talking about that. It's like, module one, all of this, it's not going to make a difference. At the end of the day, it really is going to come down to what is it that is going to really make the person that we're trying to buy our product, our solution, work with us. That is what is most interesting and most required of us in that minimum viable product. So, Patricia, getting back to you though about your business name, and I don't mean to pick on you, I love you, but your business name is good, but it's not necessary because you can be Patricia Reszetylo and that's it,
Yeah.
right? Cher is only Cher. Madonna is only Madonna, right? Beyonce is only Beyonce or the Queen Bee, right? There isn't necessarily a need for Beyonce Knowles Inc., right? Now, did she trademark Beyonce? Very good chance she did, right? Because it becomes her identity and, what's actually happening. But it doesn't mean that that was her minimum viable product in getting out there. So let me ask you, Patricia, tell us more about what you do in terms of your business. So that way people understand what it is that you're doing and why that minimum viable product is your product that you offer, not the company name.
Right, right. So I'm a business coach, a business consultant, and I've niched down so that I'm working with residential contractors. They could be general contractors, subs, whatever. Um, the first thing that I do is I eliminate the headaches that they have in their business. Then we take this free flowing machine now and we add good marketing to it. And now we've got a business that, well, I was ready for the next round, but it's doubled in size and without the headaches that they had before they expanded.
Right. And
So
so you
instead of
see right,
multiplying the headaches,
right. And so you
we've
see right
eliminated them.
here, the whole business name doesn't even make a difference
Right.
because people are buying you. They're not buying Patricia Reszetylo Inc.
Right.
Right. Daniel, you're a business strategist and a leadership development expert and things along those lines also. Now,
Right.
obviously, McCraine and Associates is there because, well, you're Daniel McCraine and you've got your associates and it's like a law firm, McCraine and Associates.
Right, right. Where I'm all three partners. Right.
Yeah. But the idea though is, from the leadership development, from the business strategizing, you're also, it's all right there because you're working with clients just like I am. And Patricia, in terms of trying to help our clients ultimately grow,
Right.
you know,
So when it comes to my minimum viable product, then for my business as a whole, I began with McCraine Associates, knowing that down the road there would be some expansion. But to be quite honest, it was just me. So I'm meeting with business owners who now have hired employees. They're trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do with these people? They need supervision. I constantly have to keep holding their hand. So I work with them on that leadership transition to become the leader in their business, not just the primary doer of their business. And in doing so, then come to find out, okay, so now they need some legal assistance. They need some more financial assistance. They need a virtual assistant, even, whatever the case may be. We need a web designer now. And so I can start to bring some of those things under the umbrella of McCraine Associates. However, that's not where it started. It
right.
started with, what is the minimum amount that I need to put out there so that I can begin to sell my product, which is me.
And you also, in terms of your minimum product, also have a very specific defined region that you're
I
looking at. And so
yes,
your marketing dollars don't even have to go and spend more in terms of reaching people outside of the Des Moines, Iowa area. Because, like you say, you want to make Des Moines an economic capital and have everybody in Des Moines know more, be better off, and things along those lines. So that's further refining what your minimum viable product is, because what you need to do is focus in on those people in the Des Moines region to get them even more, right?
correct. Right. Yeah. So even smaller. Yeah. Yep.
So that desired feature set and the trivial feature set, things along those lines, that's all even more, right? I mean, we can come up with a million more bells and whistles. Patricia, when you're doing your um, corporate structuring, right? Your minimum viable product is we got to get you set up right now with the right LLCs, the right corporate status, the right this, the right that. That's your minimum viable product.
Right.
Your desired feature set comes in, well, let's look at what your overall tax situation is like and how can we further reduce that, because we want to help you keep more of the money that you make. And
Right.
by the way, folks, for those of you that are listening, it's really important that you realize there's one single expense that so many people, whether you work for someone or you are a business owner, fail to realize is your single largest expense. That's taxes, right? When you know what you can do to minimize legally your tax liability, you're going to be in a better position to hold more of that money that you can then put into more products and more features for your products as you're going through the development of everything that you're dealing with. And
Yeah.
so when you're looking at it, Patricia is definitely in that position to show you how can you get there? How can you get set up in such a way that you're going to minimize your taxes? Daniel and I also look at what the overall business is and how can we minimize what your expenses are, right? I mean, all three of us, we know how to minimize your expenses. We know how to look at what it is that you're doing, how to maximize the bang for the buck, right? So many people, they go and they start marketing. And, all three of us are marketers, but we understand the difference though between following the herd, like we're out on the savannah, right? When we're going with the gazelles and the giraffe and the elephants and the zebras and everything else out there. And instead, we know what it's like to be the predator chasing those prey, right? We want to eat their lunch. We don't want our lunch to be eaten. But what do I mean by that? It's not that we're trying to hurt everybody out there. Don't get us wrong. Please, please, please. Um, don't tweet at me saying, you just want to destroy us. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, and this is really important for all of you, so many times we've all been told, go and invest in Facebook ads, you're going to make $1 million. Well, yeah, if I make $1 million, but I spend six to get a million, I did a really, really bad job, right? If I make $1 million and I'm only keeping $2,000, I did a really, really bad job. What you need to do is you need to focus in on the things though that are going to make that difference, right? What is it that's really going to make a difference in terms of what you're doing? Are you following everybody else just because some guru said advertise on Facebook, advertise on Google, you're going to make that $1 million? Just like those animals running out in the savannah, the gazelles, the giraffes, the elephants, whatever animal that is? Or do you want to be the lion, the hyenas, the jackals that are chasing the other animals and eating their lunch, right? You want to have your competitive advantage. You want that unfair advantage that is in your favor. And don't get me wrong, it's unfair because the other guys don't like it. It's not that it's unfair that you have it. You just know better because you're knowing what to do. You're a renegade marketer. You're not that prey. And I always talk about renegade marketing in terms of what we need to do. But start of that really has to come from your MVP,
Mhm.
right?
So
If we don't-
Jennifer, it might make sense now to talk with some business owners about why we start with an MVP. Why don't we build out the the whole program or the whole offer or build out the whole business before we launch something?
right, which is
And
exactly the point I was going to.
and maybe that's where you're heading. Maybe that's why that popped in my mind.
Yes.
But you were talking about expenses, and I would say that would be one of the key reasons why you don't just launch a whole entire business, but why you start with a minimum viable product. Because launching the whole business is going to be very expensive. It certainly could be very expensive. And you're risking a lot of capital, you're not even sure yet if you're going to get a return. So having that
Absolutely.
MVP is a great way to test the waters a little bit. But yeah, chime in, Patricia, Jennifer. Yeah, what else would you say about that?
Right. Absolutely. Developing, whatever it is. Let's say it's a course, because a lot of us are course oriented, right? So I'm developing a course for my general contractors, and I don't know what their problem really is. I don't know how they define it. I don't know what pieces they need. I don't know if those pieces are going to work. So I have to start small, and then you iterate. The next time that you relaunch the thing, you've added some pieces to it. And then the next time that you relaunch it, you've added more to it, and you're getting feedback from them, and you're, you know, adding more input from them, and you're defining what their problem is, and you're defining what the result they want is. And until you have those things, and you can't get that just by sitting and, working in your little office and not interacting with them. You have to go out and you have to do it in order to figure out what they need and what needs to be added to the thing.
Right, and that's exactly why when you get started with course creation, as an example, you don't want to build everything out first for
Right.
that very reason, because I'm going to create a module all about, and, because you mentioned construction, right? I'm going to create a module all about the latest, home theater systems and security systems that are available in the construction market for the residential homes. But you know what? What if I'm not talking to a residential construction firm, right? What if they're not who I want to really go after? What if I want to focus on the commercial contractors because that's where more of the money is going to be, right? If I have commercial contracts, I'm building huge buildings. I'm not building a home. And if I'm not building a home, all of a sudden I've got a lot more money that I have available now to invest in programs. Whereas if I'm building a home, I may build a home for $400,000, but how much of that is take home, right? If I'm only taking 2,000 of that 400,000 home, I don't have $500 to give you on a course to teach me about the latest and greatest, because darn it, that $2,000 has to cover my expenses, right? So what do you do? How do you focus? And so you really need to pay attention to what is it that is going to bring in the most with the least amount of time, resources, and effort. And what do I mean by time, resources, and effort? Think about a triangle. It's called the resources triangle. And I want you all to think about in your mind a triangle, right? A triangle we know has three sides. One side is time, one side is resources, meaning people, and another side is money, right? If I have more of one, then I don't have to worry about taking those other two to work with what I'm doing, right? So, in other words, if I have time because I'm a startup, right? I don't have money and I don't have resources, then I'll use my time to grow the business. If I am busy, then I will throw money at something, or I will throw resources at something, so that way I don't take the time. And so in your minimum viable product, you need to be thinking about that resource triangle. Because if you know what you have, right, then you start thinking about your MVP completely different and moving from there. And, because we want to start wrapping up this first episode of our program, I'm going to ask you, Daniel and Patricia, what other final thoughts do you guys have on MVP, making our friends out there really know what is it that makes that difference between having that MVP, getting off to a good start, and going down that rabbit hole that, like you, Daniel, a couple of years later, you realize it's the complete wrong move.
Exactly. Well, I think it's important to know how to create a minimum viable product. So, looking at whatever your, if it's going to be a line of service, if it's going to be a product that you're putting out, if it's going to be your whole business, it's important to peel everything back, take off all of the extra pieces and everything, label everything as either nice to have or need to have, and see if you can get down to just those 1, 2, 3 things that are absolutely necessary in order to launch, and that becomes your minimum viable product. So, for example, I was just talking to a guy in rural Iowa. He's going to be starting a handyman business in the small town where he lives, and he was reaching out on the internet wanting help for marketing. And I had to talk to him and say, hey, look, marketing is really not what you need right now. You're just starting out. You're doing a handyman business. What is the minimum that you need to start a handyman business? You probably need a hammer, a screwdriver, a saw, and a truck. And that's probably it. And then after that, what do you need? You do a good job for somebody, a friend or family, and you start getting your name around. Start doing a few jobs to make sure that you can build up some good testimonials, and then you can get in a position where you're ready to launch your marketing. But what
So
is the
have that jackhammer going at 6 in the morning?
right, right. But what is the minimum viable product for a handyman business? Just a small handful of tools, right? So for any product or any service line that you're going to be launching, what is the smallest amount that you absolutely need to have?
Great point, Daniel.
And Patricia, what else? Jump in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I see a lot of people who are, well, I hang out online, but, and they're rebranding their business. And they're doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this other thing. And, unless you're selling something, you don't have a business. Figure out how to sell stuff. Then worry about your branding. Then worry about your marketing. Just figure out how to sell something to somebody.
Very good point.
Till then, you don't have a business. Don't
Right.
worry about your business legal structure. You can start as a sole proprietor. You can get your legal stuff taken care of later. You're not going to die.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Figure out how to sell stuff.
And that means, by the way, so often you hear people saying, I need a website, I need a website, I need a website before I can do anything. You know what? Yes, if you're an e-commerce business, you need a website, right? You need a way for people to find your products to buy. But if you are a retail business, a brick and mortar business, you don't need a website to get started. Go out there, start meeting people, start getting the things that you need, and people will start coming and buying from you. Like Patricia was saying, you need to start selling.
Yeah.
After you have money, you can then invest it in a logo design and getting a website done and having whatever it is that you're looking to do, because at that point, now it starts making the difference. But otherwise, you completely lose all value, all connection, because it's just, what's the difference at that point?
Mhm. Very true.
Right,
So,
because you can spend a lot of money on websites, on marketing, on
oh,
advertising. There's so
absolutely.
much to spend money on. Oh my gosh. But if you're not selling anything, you don't have a business.
Right.
The
You know,
whole
I know people that are doing websites for 10, 15, 20,000 and up dollars. Now, a lot of you who are listening to this may be thinking, holy cow, did she just say 20,000 and up for a website? Yeah, I did. And realize that's not, a rink-eating small 2, 3 page website, but it's not for a million page website either. When we're looking at what some of these companies are doing with web development and what they're charging, it's based on the things that you need. Again, minimum viable product. Do you need all those fancy bells and whistles to be integrated into your site right now? Or can those be integrated down the road? Do you need that amazing firsthand look and design? Think about it. Craigslist is still one of the most popular websites out there. Google is the most popular website out there. Go to the Google website. It's just a search box. That's all it is. You don't need that flashy introduction. You don't need what is going to be there. You need something to offer what your minimum product is. Google's minimum product is, darn it, do a search. You come to my page, it is absolutely clear, just do a search. Craigslist looks like it was done in the 1990s when the internet was in its infancy, and it was, but they haven't changed it, you know, and
They don't need to.
they
no.
don't need to. They don't
It
mess
works.
with fashion. People have been going there for 20 plus years. They're making decisions to buy from people. They're making decisions to post on Craigslist, and Craigslist makes money here by you posting, right? It works. Don't mess with it. You don't need that flashy page just to bring people in. Now, is a flashy page going to maybe turn some people on or off? Maybe, but that's your desired feature set or your trivial feature set. That's not your minimum product.
Mhm.
If you liked what you heard, guys, on this program, please continue listening. Please leave us a good rating. Give us a review. You know, podcasts live and die on reviews, podcasts live and die on people interacting with them, on people introducing others to them. And if you've heard even one single nugget from what you've heard today that you can use in your business, let us know. Let other people know about this program and how we can help you more. You know, we want to know what you want. We want to know what it is that is on your mind in terms of business. We are here as your business strategists. We know what to do. The three of us coach clients all of the time in terms of showing people what to do, what not to do in business, what to do in marketing, and how to avoid going down those rabbit holes of doing what everybody else does with Facebook, Google, etc. So if you like us, let us know. And until next time, this is Jennifer Glass
Daniel McCraine.
And Patricia Reszetylo.
sounding off. Thank you so much.